Before we begin tonight, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the loss of one of the greatest Americans this week. Hugh Hefner, the greatest game changer of all time, and taught this young man a few things about the birds and the bees. So let's raise a glass to Hugh Hefner and give in heaven a little taste of hell.
I am the game changer. I'm here to change the game. And hopefully, along the way, touch a few hearts. That game, of course, fantasy football.
Welcome to Set 'em or Forget 'em, in which I share my vast wisdom and knowledge with you and only you. I'll tell you which players you should set in your lineups and which players you should forget and banish to the bench. Let's get started, shall we? Look, we all know why you're here. Your team's in trouble. You've got matchup problems, injuries. You're looking for answers? Hell, I got 'em. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Set 'em. Carson Palmer. I know, not a sexy name. Hell, he hasn't been sexy since Carson Daly was hosting TRL. I get it. But the facts are, he's hucking it all around the yard. San Fran coming to town. Forgiving pass defense if there ever was one. You're in trouble for quarterbacks. Carson Palmer's your guy. Pick him up. Set him. All right. Next, we've got Andy Dalton. I know. But look, the Dalton, the red rifle, is oiled and ready to go. Ready to fire multiple touchdown passes on that woeful Cleveland Browns defense. And frankly, AJ Green honestly seems to enjoy tormenting the good people of Cleveland. So, who's throwing him the ball? Andy Dalton. If you can't get Palmer, get yourself some Dalton. All right, that's your quarterbacks. Next up, who to forget? Let's talk about some quarterbacks you can absolutely forget. Hit yourself in the head, get yourself some amnesia, and forget about these guys, at least for this week. First up, Derek Carr. All right, he was putrid against Washington Redskins last week. And as an encore, he gets the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City. No thank you. No mas. Forget him. And after that, we've got Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, decent quarterback, pretty good in fantasy so far, but not this week. He gets the Vikings in mini. That is a tough defense. I want no part of that. Forget him. Forget him. All right, that's it for the quarterbacks. Next up, running backs. Running backs. We all need them. And that's why you're here. Christy McCaffrey. Pretty simple logic here. The Patriots have been putrid on defense. Cameron Newton has very few options to throw to. And the fact that the Panthers are going to be chasing points all game means lots of balls for Christy. Set him. Next, we've got Mark Ingram, who gets a crack at the Dolphins' defense, who were just humiliated by the Jets last week. Now, it's true he does share carries with the ghost of Adrian Peterson, but frankly, he gets the majority, and I got a feeling he cashes in with a touchdown this week. Set him, Mark Ingram. Running backs, and who to forget? Jonathan Stewart, Panthers. When the Panthers fall behind 2 touchdowns to the Pats in the first quarter, who's going to be riding the pine? Jay Stu. Forget him. Next up, Marshawn Lynch. And I know, you probably can't afford to bench beast mode, but if you can, you do it. The Denver defense isn't just for passing anymore, and no matter how many Skittles Marshawn munches, there will be precious little gold at the end of that rainbow. Forget them. Next up, wide receivers. Devontae Parker, Dolphins. The Saints-Dolphins showdown in London town have the makings of an old-fashioned shootout. Neither team plays defense, and Jay Cutler loves to chuck it downfield to Devontae, so saddle up. Next, we've got Rashard Matthews of the Titans. Look, Mariota loves the guy and hates Eric Decker's guts. The Texans are not a defense to be afraid of, and Shard will get his catches and yards. Set him. Wide receivers to forget. Amari Cooper, Mikey Crabtree, Raiders. Noticing a trend? See Denver, defense. T.Y. Hilton, Colts. I know, he went absolutely nuts last week, but that was against the Cleveland Browns. And that honor is reserved for A.J. Green this week. T.Y. has a trip to the Pacific Northwest and an appointment with the Legion of Boom. No thank you. Forget 'em. Tight ends and who to set? Evan Ingram, Giants. Tampa Bay stinks. And if you're hurting a tight end, Evan might be your answer. Technically, he's a tight end, but honestly, he's more like a small Mike Evans. He don't block, he just catches balls. Set him. Austin Safarian Jenkins, Jets. If you have no other options, ASJ just might be your man. The Jets threw him right back into action following the suspension, and the Jaguars are really good at defending the perimeter. So for the Jets, it's really ASJ or nothing. Set him. Tight ends, and who to forget? Kobe Fleener, Saints. I know I've been talking up this shootout in London, but Willie Snead's back from suspension this week, and the fact is, Kobe Fleener is just not a very good football player. You're going to want to forget him. Mercedes Lewis, Jaguars. I don't go chasing waterfalls, and I don't go chasing touchdowns. There's an extremely good chance that the 3 touchdowns Mercedes scored last week go down as the only touchdowns Mercedes Lewis scores this season. Don't outsmart yourself. You're going to want to forget them. Defenses. Who to set? Jaguars. Facing the Jets. Easy, right? Sometimes it's just that simple. And we've got the Bengals. Facing the Browns. Set them. Defenses and which to forget? Redskins. Sure, they shockingly suffocated the Raiders last week, but this week's trip to Kansas City is a whole other ballgame. Forget them. And the Panthers. I got 3 words for you. Angry Tom Brady. Forget it. Don't do it. Done. All right, folks, that does it for another enlightening edition of Set 'em or Forget 'em. I want you to know that this time we spent together, I know it's been a real treat for you, and I want to say you're welcome. And if you have any questions about your lineup or your roster, please direct them to the comments section of the website, and I will be happy to answer them. And what am I saying? I'm not just here to change the game of football. I'm here to change the game of life. I can't keep this all up here. That would be selfish. So if you have any questions on any subject at all, send them this way. Maybe you need some dating advice. Maybe it's a recipe question, how to keep my muffins moist. Maybe you've got a geographical query. Where is Salt Lake City? I can answer those questions and more. So send them this way. This is the Game Changer signing off. Sayonara, suckers.